welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. It's Wednesday, March 18th, and we've had basically 3 straight days of rain. Last night it rained really hard. You saw my pond went from empty to full. So we got us a nice rain. Don't have my rain gauge out, so I don't know how much we got, but I'd guess we got at least 2 to 3 inches, and it was a good hard rain. So anyway, today I got off work decent time today, got through all the virus issues and taking care of all of that. So things are crazy out there, but down here the bees, they don't care if there's a pandemic or that Wall Street is crashing. Bees don't care. Bees are out collecting nectar from the fruit trees, and we have a lot of henbit blooming all over the place, and a lot of little flowers in the grass I see are blooming. And the red buds, I can see them. They're about halfway opened up. So we need to get in here and start rotating our hives. I can't get them all done right now, but I'm going to do at least a couple and show you how I do that and show you how I make a decision on whether to rotate or not. So we're burning daylight. Let's get started. Okay, we're here at hives 3 and 4. These are the 2 I'm going to start with and just go down the line. But hives 1 and 2 aren't here, so hive 1 is the nuke we combined over there with 5, and hive 2 was a dead out that going into the fall, the queen failed or for whatever reason, but that's a dead out. So anyway, let's get in here. So the first thing I want to do is check out how heavy they are. So if they're real lightweight, that's going to tell me right away that most of the bees are going to be up in the top. But if I remember right, one of these hives was fairly heavy. This one is very heavy, so we may be able to take some honey frames out of here and boost these 2 hives over here, 17, 18, that are pretty weak. And those are the ones that have feed in them. So they're both pretty darn heavy. So may not be the best example. So these 2 hives came without a winter with a lot of stores, and I can tell that just by how much they weigh. So it feels like I'm lifting probably 40 pounds on the back side, and going into winter it feels like, you know, I try to get into where they feel like 50, 55 pounds lifting on one end. So that's half the weight you're lifting if you lift from the back. So let's get in here. So I'm going to give them a little smoke in the front because this is a pretty invasive process. And if it's a hot hive, it's going to be an issue. So last time I was here, after I did my oxalic acid treatment, I flipped the entrance reducers over to the higher opening, the wider one that's about 3 inches. And I've got my muck boots on because it's so wet, and I hope I don't have bees going down my pants getting me. Lots of propolis. I'm gonna get these bees here off the lid. So I'm not seeing a bunch of bees up here. I see a bunch of honey frames. So it looks like a hive that's ready to go into winter. Using my Cayman Reynolds J-hook tool here. If you want one of these, go to a Cayman Reynolds channel. That's Cayman with a K. And he has this listed in his Amazon store. So give him credit for that if you buy it. I got some beekeeping stuff on my Amazon store too if you want to go look at that. But if you buy this tool, use Cayman's link, please. Wow, feels like there's stuff all over the bottom of it. It's hard to get out of there. Oh, that's why. It was it had a bridge on the outside going to the outside, and that made them really mad. So I'm gonna have to clean that up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I smell alarm pheromone, and they're all over my face now. Great. just what I wanted. Yeah, so we got us a major pissed off beehive now. So there you can see that outside frame was bridged over onto the wall, and I tore it off. See what it looks like on the frame. So there's honey dripping off everywhere from that. Down there on the ground. Not good. So it looks like most of this is honey frames up here. We're going to balance this out. We'll see what it looks like in the bottom. So I got to get a couple frames out of here at least so I can get that scraped off the wall. Giving them plenty of smoke to get them chilled out a little bit. Get them to go down. This is unbelievable. This sucker is, this is a full honey frame here. Look at that. Well, it's not. So that other frame was kind of thick, but I'm going to set these out here for now. I got to be able to get down in there with my hive tool. So it doesn't look like they've even gone upstairs at all over winter. Yeah, we do. We got brood up here. Here's a pollen frame. So usually when you see pollen, you're going to see brood right next to it. So let's continue on. We might see the queen. So here's a frame with fresh eggs. And the same. I know I'm moving kind of fast here. Fast for me anyway. I'll show you what I got here. So there's your uncapped larva capped in the middle. So she started laying in the middle, working her way out. So actually this is backfilled. And out here in this outer ring is where she filled it the first time, and those are just emerging out on the edges. And then she came back and she started in the middle. And there are eggs in these other cells. You see an eggs in there or not. So we know we have a good laying queen in here. She's doing well too, as far as how many eggs she's got laid. So from what I'm seeing, we might possibly rotate this hive because we got brood in the top. All this is laid up, man. She is kicking it in. I should have brought my marking pen down here in case I see her and she's not marked. I guess I could mark her with the color I got because she would be last year's queen. Man, look at that. Just a brood explosion. So this is our last brood frame. The next one over is honey. And I may have smoked her on down. So at the rate this is taking me, we may just do one hive here on the video. Normally I would have stopped, set this aside, start checking out the bottom. Now we got brood here too, down on the bottom. So see how this brood here is towards the bottom of the frame? So the frames below it and the box below it may have brood on this same spot in the top. If that's the case, we don't want to rotate this hive. You don't want to split these brood chambers up. Wow, I got bees all over my face. I can smell them. The smell of pissed off bees is in the air. I don't know if you can see this or not. Get them off of me, and I'm going to back away for a second. Okay, let's try and put this back together. So looks like we got 6 frames of honey in here. I could probably take that outside frame from each side. In fact, I think I'll do that. First thing I need to do though is get this burr comb cleaned off. I hate working hot hives like this. If I'd known it was going to come to this, I would have worn my full suit. Covers my whole legs and everything. Trying to close this up without smashing any bees in there. So this is a bridge comb. It's a pretty thick, heavy stuff. It's not something you want to make like lip balm with because it's really hard. But I believe it'll melt okay. You can probably use it okay in your wax you melt to coat your plastic frames with, or your plastic foundation. So I'm going to put 2 of these back. I want to scoot that whole thing over though. And I'm going to put empty frames back in where those were. And I'm going to use these honey frames and these weaker hives over here. So if I just had done a normal inspection on this hive and not got into it so radical, they may not have been so. When I started busting apart that honey, that's when you get what you got here. Sometimes you just have a hot hive and they're going to do it no matter what. Since we're not like in the strongest part of the nectar flow, they may be a little defensive from that. You know, they're acting like it's winter time. All right, let's see what we got here. We want to take another frame of honey out of here. That don't have much. I think I'll just do the one. Okay, let's quit dilly-dallying around. So what I've learned is most of the time when you get stung, it's sometime around when you picked up a box. So if you got a suit that don't go all the way down, be careful what your legs press up against. Because if you press up against a bee, you're going to get stung on the leg. So don't set your boxes on the ground. I got a hive stand back here that I use. It's called a Bee Mate. It's portable, it folds out, pretty handy. Lightweight. Okay, so we want to clean all this bridge comb up here, or burr comb, whatever you want to call it. So I want to look and see what's down here. If I got brood down here, we're not going to rotate, but I do want to clean this up first. Got them all mad, so might as well finish this. Sometimes when I do an inspection on a hive like this, I'll get comments as, hey, you need to requeen that. Those bees are too aggressive. Well, these bees won't always be like this, most likely. And if they are, yeah, I would think about requeening. But I'll go back and look in my notes and see from last year if I noted that this was a hot hive. A lot of the times it just has to do with the time of year and what you're doing when you go in there. So you don't have to drown them with smoke. You just want a little bit going across and some to get down in between the frames so they go down. So you're not smashing them when you're working on them. So I see honey here, honey there. I'm going to start on this side. It looks a little easier. It's not as drawn out, thick. And look at that, honey. So what we're looking for here is brood. If we see brood, we're not going to rotate. There's honey and pollen. Big pollen frame there. I can see brood already. I'll show you. This is a very, very strong hive. So our queen's laying down here too. This is all laid up, so we're not going to rotate it. This frame, I see the same thing. I'll show you real quick. Gone this far, why not keep going, huh? You just probably want to see me get stung. Yeah, look at that. And the frame next to it is the same thing. And the same thing. This next one here looks like there's not brood there. This hive is like, this will be one we got to watch for swarming. Super strong. So we need to get a honey super on it as soon as we can. So again, if there weren't any brood down here, I would put that top box on the bottom and put this one up above. These bees must have been on rations through the winter. I don't see how they got through winter this strong. Ouch! There, I got it. Ah, right on the back. I don't see how they got through winter this strong and that much honey in there. They must have had a small cluster of bees and didn't eat much. When spring came, the queen just kicked it in and filled it up. So we never did find the queen, and that's okay. We saw evidence of the laying queen. We saw fresh eggs. Okay, I went over to Hive 18 and I got an undrawn frame. It's from last year, 2019, and I can see a coat of wax on it, so it's good. A lot of times the bees will take the wax off of here and use it somewhere else if it's a weak hive, and then they won't draw this out correctly later. So you want to make sure your frames have the good wax if you're using a plastic foundation like this. And I'm going to put it between the brood frames. So if you put an empty frame like this between two honey frames, they're not going to draw it out very fast, and you're going to have two fat frames on either side and there won't be much on this. So when you put in a checkerboard in a frame, put it between brood frames. That way you don't have that issue with the honey getting really thick on that frame and not being so usable. Let's see, I think right in here's where I want to be. I think one more over. Yeah, so these two are brood frames, so I'll get it right between them. And this strong of a hive and this nectar flow, they will draw this thing out in no time. Ah! Right on the nose. Bee in the bonnet. Oops, I gotta bleep that out now. I hope my face isn't all swollen up in the morning when I gotta go to work. Yes, I'm a wimp and I don't like getting stung. I hate it. Beekeeping is so fun. It really is. I enjoy it. Okay. So, let's get the crap out of here. Yep, there's the dead bee right there. Sheesh. Right between the eyes. As soon as they came out of there at me like that early on, I was like, oh boy. It's going to be one of those. And I wanted to show you how to rotate a hive. Didn't get to do that. So when we put the honey supers on, I'll put this excluder and then the honey super. Which I need to do that pretty darn quick. If I had one down here, I'd do it right now. I don't have one ready. They're all up there airing out. Okay. So while we're here, we'll open up this entrance all the way. So it got up almost to 80 today. And we'll go put this over in Hive 18. I'll swing around and show you that real quick. Okay, here's Hive 18. So there's some previous videos on this. So basically I noticed this hive was very lightweight. I could lift it really easy, and same way with 17 right next to it, but 18 surprised me. So this all the bees are in here, right here on these 4 frames. So we'll give them this big old thing of honey. I'll put this big cut side towards them. Let's close this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah, don't sting me, please. So I'm gonna close this back up, and I think we'll end the video here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot an ending here in case doing 2 of these is too long, and I suspect it will be. So hope you enjoyed the video. I might make another one where I actually do rotate, and hopefully I can find a hive that's not going to eat me up like that one did. and show you how I actually do that. I mean, there's no mystery to it. You just move the boxes like that, right? So the key is, if there's brood in the bottom and the top, you don't rotate them. And the reason you rotate them is you want an emptier box on the top with no brood, so they can fill the top box up with honey before they start working on a super. And that honey in that top box will be what they live on over winter. So that's how I do a double deep system here in central Oklahoma. So give me a thumbs up if you would, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and we'll catch you on the next one. Y'all take care.